Hey guys, it's Melissa Ackison. I am running for the United States Senate to represent the great state of Ohio. The sum of my issues related to failed, out-of-touch, federal-level policy as it relates to healthcare, but several other issues and areas in my personal life as well as in my business, have led me all the way to Washington. In fact, I've already met with the Vice President of the United States. I was there the day that President Trump had the national address. I was in the background for that as well. And I'm a true testament to what failed federal level policy looks like in real world terms. Now, let's fast forward to where we are today, and Republicans have still not been successful with addressing issues and matters of health care. Now let's look at this from two different perspectives. All equal failures. Democrats rolled this out. The public was fed propaganda and lies to make you believe that without the Affordable Care Act, you're as good as dead. In fact, you couldn't buy insurance. If you had a pre-existing condition, you're done for. So you better let the government get involved at this point and we'll take care of you. But the question I would have for them is, what happened to all those years prior to the Affordable Care Act when I have one of the most rare bone conditions? My son also has a very serious pre-existing condition. And I had over 60 insurers that I shopped the free market, the free market, to buy my family's health care coverage, and that was with a pre-existing condition. Obamacare is rolled out, and suddenly those free market options that I once had to be able to purchase my family's health insurance as a small business owner, those are gone. And now I'm buying plans that cannot be used anywhere. So that pre-existing condition and all those things I had, well, geez, what happens with that when you can't actually use the insurance that the government forced you to buy? They stripped away your free market options. Now what do we do? Well, I tell you what we do. If we're the Democrats, we're going to get as much propaganda out there as possible to make people think they're going to die without the ACA. In fact, not only are they going to die, even though these programs are failing, we better take over your insurance completely, and we're going to offer you single payer. Because even though we tell you that we want prosperity for you and we want independent thinking, we're going to take over your health care. We're going to start managing through a single payer system. And while that may sound great to people and it sounds like a wonderful thing, it's not sustainable. At some point in time, the government's going to come to you, just like they always do, and they're going to tell you that that single-payer option where you once had decent coverage, well, now we better start rationing things out because we've buckled the system. We've got all of these people enrolled, and now we'll decide for you who gets what coverage. They believe we are so stupid that we can't make decisions for ourselves. We can't have a voucher program or an alternative that allows us to use free market design where we shop insurance companies and we buy our own insurance. No, 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 no. They took $3.3 billion of taxpayer, just so you get that, that was $3.3 billion of taxpayer-funded loans to start co-ops. All those co-ops went bankrupt. Ugh. I was part of those in the real world. They went bankrupt. It was poor coverage. Then they threw you back into the marketplace and made you buy a high-price, high-deductible plan where you had insurance that you couldn't use anywhere. Ugh. Now let's look at where we are today. Republicans can't get it done because these are people who have they've not negotiated anything in their entire lives. I'd be curious to know how many of them have actually started businesses and understand what it looks like to do more with less. They don't know what that looks like because they have the taxpayer to keep taking from. Democrats have a solution. Their solution is, we screwed up healthcare so bad, but instead of fixing it or working together collectively, we're going to scurry off in the corner. And then we're going to offer you single payer where everybody gets insurance and it's all free. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in real world terms. Tax reform is next on the list. Will they be able to do anything with that? I would suspect they can't. They can do a good job of campaigning on things, but again, back in the real world as a business owner, I know what it looks like when you have a client that files bankruptcy or they don't pay their invoices and you don't take a salary so you can keep your employees employed. I know what it looks like to struggle on the payroll taxes. So where you have Democrats screaming $15 minimum wage for everybody. But they don't get when you own a business, you pay a huge percentage of payroll taxes to the government. That's right. Being an entrepreneur and wanting to do the right thing or wanting to stimulate the economy and wanting to live the American dream gets real expensive in the real world for people like me who actually do open businesses. So what happens? Not only do I pay my employees, I now have a huge percentage that I pay to the government. You have somebody that goes bankrupt and they don't pay their bills to you. Well, that means that it's tough for you to make your payroll. You got to pay the piper, got to pay the government their portion. But when you do, or when you slip on that, guess what it looks like? $20,000 in my world that look like payroll taxes that needed to be paid. Well, they send an IRS agent to your house. That's right. The federal government gives an IRS agent that much power and control. They come to your home. And $20,000 of payroll taxes that you might be struggling or you're on a payment plan for, you know what that looks like when the government's finished after fines and force and penalty? Not only do they show up your house, they scare your kids, they shake your house down, they seize your assets, they look and see where they can get money from you. $20,000 now turns into $60,000. And we're supposed to believe that there's an interest for free market and there's an interest for the small business owner to succeed. Why is it that Congress and the Senate can always seem to strike up a deal to bail out huge companies, probably funding their campaigns? Anyway, bailing out huge companies, they can always seem to come up with taxpayer-funded bailouts for those. But for the small business owner, they keep taking and taking and taking until you have nothing left. And then you have parties offering things like free insurance through single-payer methods. They offered when they rolled out the Affordable Care Act, it was supposed to stimulate the economy. Uh-oh, what happened to that? Because as a business owner, you made it really hard for me to grow and to stimulate the economy and to offer my employees insurance because you got involved in something you had no idea what your place is, what your position is. How can anybody believe that the design of government currently is for us to succeed when we're taxed the way that we are, when we can't get away from fines and penalties, where we've reached a day in time that the government is forcing you to buy insurance only through them or through their co-ops that went bankrupt, and you've taken the free market away. You've taken that from us. And here we are. I'm in a situation. What am I going to do, everybody, for my insurance this year? The one plan that's for sale in the Obamacare program, it doesn't cover any of my special doctors that I used to be able to work with for my rare disease. I have a son that has a pre-existing condition. What's he going to do? There's programs like BCMH, it's the Bureau for Children's Medical Handicaps that he's involved with, but the government wanted to even take that and roll that tax. I pay for that. Those are my tax dollars. God knows you get enough from me. The government here locally wanted to take BCMH and roll that under Medicaid. Yes, because that's what we need. More to buckle Medicaid that's already buckling in the first place. You want to take and manage programs at the government level, and you want customer service employees to make decisions on my child's health care. And that's what single payer is going to look like. Don't get too excited when you hear the word free. There's free cheese in a mousetrap. There's free cheese in a mousetrap. What happens? Melissa Ackison, United States Senate. You will never find a candidate in the history of this current race that will go to Washington, look politicians in the eye and say, why are you failing? Why do you continue to let the people down? And also offer real-world solutions. They don't know what it looks like and they can't get it done because they've never lived in a real-world scenario. Very few, if any, with the exception of our president, of course, has actually started a business. They would have no idea what they look like, what that even looks like. How can they campaign on things that they're not involved with? I had somebody ask me to give an endorsement to somebody who's running for the governor's race. And I said, oh, okay, so they're going to fix Obamacare. I've been to Washington already. I'm meeting with congressmen. I'm meeting with senators. I'm meeting with the governor's administration, state reps. They haven't reached out to me to figure out how to resolve this, but they have all the answers. They're not on Obamacare. How will they know what that looks like? I will absolutely not endorse anybody until they want to sit down with me and figure out in real world terms what tax reform looks like and what healthcare reform looks like and Here's another crazy thing. They campaign on immigration, but I've worked on migration programs to successfully assimilate people into the workplace, and I know what good assimilation looks like, and I know what assimilation that doesn't go successfully looks like that. But they're going to be the people to represent you. Not on my watch, you won't. The campaign is gaining momentum like we've never seen. We're running this with volunteers, and I'm sitting in my living room, aka campaign headquarters, talking to you from my cell phone to let you know what real world issues look like. And that's why the public resonates with me. I look forward to your continued support. I look forward to you supporting me to hold politicians accountable. And if you can't tell by the videos I make or the way I've put myself out in the public eye, that I have absolutely no problem with going up against somebody, putting them in check and holding them accountable, I'm sorry that you can't see that. Maybe if you meet me in person, you'll be able to. You will find a no more qualified candidate to represent the real world issues that you and I face on a daily basis. Melissa Ackison, United States Senate. Cannot wait to be your representation.